All right. I am super excited to be here. Hello, everyone in LinkedIn land and also on my Instagram and YouTube. I am delighted to be leading a conversation today with three fabulous humans. As usual, I only hang out with really fabulous humans, as you should know. The topic for today is leading with heart, how compassion and empathy shape core values. And as we go through our discussion today, a reminder to all people who are watching either currently or the replay to type your chats, your questions or comments in the chat. And while we may not be able to respond to them right away, we will all take our time to go back in whatever platform we see your comment on and engage with you and have a conversation with you. Also, we will be covering 2 questions today, and I'll go over those shortly. But if you have an answer to that question, you're an expert in the area, please feel free to contribute. Sharing is caring. So we're here to have a great conversation and bring some heart to the compassionate leader. So reminder, I'm Misha Safran. I am a leadership coach. I am a trainer. I'm a speaker and MC. And my pillars are empathy, emotional intelligence, and joy and play, because we don't need to have professional equal dull. And so I help people do peopling better. And I want to welcome my panelists. And by first sign up, we'll go in order. I've got Crystal. Crystal, come on in and introduce yourself, please.
Hello. Happy Monday, everyone. My name is Crystal Whiteaker. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an inclusive leadership and brand development coach and consultant. And like Misha, I'm also a speaker and a facilitator. And just for funsies, I teach yoga to remain connected to humans on a human level. Did I get it all? I think that's it.
Yeah, what about the topic for today feels really aligned for you?
For me, all of my work is done through the lens of core values first and foremost. And I find that people work better when they are connected, not just to other folks, but themselves. And when empathy and compassion come into play, when we're able to have empathy and compassion for ourselves, it becomes a lot easier to have empathy and compassion for other people.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Glad to have you, Crystal. And I am going to bring in Rajiv. Come on in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rajiv Ramdat. I am a certified life coach and a mixed methods program evaluator. Currently based out of Ohio, and my company is Cranes Refolded, where I help people sort of slowly in process transform and reevaluate different parts of their lives that they can eventually, flourish and soar. My core values are community, authenticity, and love, and so being able to talk about this in this space today was really aligned, especially because for majority of my career, I worked in higher education. And one of the tracks that we had in the program was leadership and administration, where we helped STEM-based students understand their core values, lean into leadership practices to help research and teams sort of really sort of expand and develop, so that not only were they making data progress, they were also making community progress as well. So very honored to be here in this space with each of you.
Awesome. Yeah, super happy to have you. Thank you, Rajiv. All right, Troy, last but not least, let me pull you in there. Last but not least, come on in.
Thanks for having me, Misha and Rajiv and Crystal. Nice to be with you all today. It's cool to get together with people that do similar work and to partner. And there's so much space in this industry. So I'm the CEO of Cardinal Communications, right? Communication is important, and I think that empathy is a huge part of being not just a good leader, but like a fellow good human to the people around us. And so I think it's really core to a lot of what we do in leadership, and been in this industry for a long time. And I've just noticed that there's a lot of training and leadership programs that are about how to do the job as like a supervisor, but not how to be a good leader. And sometimes those modules are short and almost like a footnote or a side note, where I try and take the approach of, it's the people stuff that matters. It's the intentionality of caring about others, and that's the core of empathy. So thanks again. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Really glad that you're here as well. And I'm super excited that we're going to have a stimulating, scintillating, as my mother would used to say, scintillating conversation about leading with heart. And I just wanted to kind of flow in after what you just said, Troy, around, it's generosity over competition. I mean, I loved it when Crystal said, yeah, I do speaking too. I'm like, yes, because we're amazing humans that get to impact the world in a positive way. And we each have our own special sauce. So one of the intentions I have when I create this panel discussion is not to just shine the light on me. I like to make sure that the communities have the resources they need. And y'all are three other fabulous humans who can give great skills, qualities, strategic tools to the community. So I'm glad you're all with me. So with that in mind, I'm going to now put us all on the same screen if I can. There it is. I'm going to just kind of switch things around a little bit. Okay, so the first question, I'm going to put this in here. What misconceptions do leaders often have? I almost feel like this is a Jeopardy, like do, 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 do. Sorry. Okay, what misconceptions, remember my pillars are joy and play. What misconceptions do leaders often have about empathy and compassion in the workplace? And how can we reframe them as strengths? And just a reminder to the audience and to our panelists, your answer gets to be your answer. We don't have to agree on everything. And so when you answer this question, just remember to share the space and make room for other people to offer theirs. If you're watching or in the replay, you can also put your comments in the chat. So who would like to go first? Okay, I saw Crystal. Come on in, Crystal.
I can start.
Okay.
This question really brought up some things for me, just kind of remembering my own corporate experience. I think historically there's been this ideology to not let our feelings get in the way of work, leave your personal stuff at the door, so to speak. And I'm seeing head nods. And it's something that never sat well with me, working as an employee and then even as a consultant going into other organizations, because the truth is that we can never fully segment who we are. And we shouldn't have to, right? Instead, I think that we should consider how empathy and compassion make us better at doing the work, because they help us become more attuned, for one, when we're attuned to people we are working with, and also by extension, being more attuned to those that we're working to serve. So one of the examples, burnout is a hot topic right now. So for example, with burnout, if someone on your team is burnt out, but your culture doesn't support things like taking pauses or even, time off, a lack of empathy and compassion are going to further impact that person's ability to advocate for themselves and what they need in order to be well, show up well, and do their job well. But when empathy and compassion are present, leaders and their teams are more able to support one another as human beings first. And they can create space for folks to be able to ask for what they need so that people do feel supported and the work still gets done, even if it means making some adjustments.
Yeah, thank you for that, Crystal. And, one of the things that came to mind as you were saying that is that oftentimes leaders and just people in general mistakenly use the word soft skills to mean we're being soft on people. And actually, I see empathy and compassion as strategic skills, that it doesn't have to be an excuse for people not to get their work done, but how can we better understand how to create an environment where people can get their work done? So yeah, thank you so much for that. Who else would like to go? Or who's next, I should say. All right, Troy, come on in.
All right, thank you. So kind of like Crystal, I also worked in the corporate world for a while and got a lot of amazing experience. And I had some of the worst bosses and actually some of the best bosses. So I really just by living and working, got to experience some of the best and the worst of the leaders out there. And I have one story that I'll share. It was working for, and I'll leave names out of it and specific organizations out of it, just, to keep things confidential to a point. But the story is still, it's true and it's amazing. So I had someone in my life pass away. They actually committed suicide. And it wasn't someone I knew super well, but it was someone I had just met and that I was supposed to hang out with again soon. And so I came to work that day, and I have, the top level boss, and there's like a second level boss. And I thought, just having trouble focusing. Who should I, go talk to about this? And honestly, it was the second level boss, even though I'm very close with both of them. And so I go into her office and I just start to talk, and then he comes in, and so he's like, "What's going on?" And his personality was not one that was just like gushing with the idea of let's have emotions at work. It was more of just like let's come to work, let's enjoy each other's company, but let's get the job done. And so I told him what had happened, and I was tearing up, getting emotional, and the most surprising thing happened. He gave me a hug, and I think that, not that I'm like know this stuff inside and out, but I think sympathy is feeling bad for someone. Empathy is feeling, with someone, and then compassion, at least to me, is acting on that. It's acting on that empathy, right? And so he actually displayed empathy, or compassion, not just empathy, and definitely not just sympathy. And I think that was maybe one of the only hugs I ever got from the guy, and it was such a surprise, but it actually was very nice because nothing he could have said or any look on his face could have showed that he cared about this thing that was going on in my life. And so that's just stuck with me ever since. And I think that, yeah, we go to work to do a job, but we are all humans, and we're not just numbers. We're not just cogs in a wheel. And so my message to any leader out there that's listening to this is, you're going to have your moments, and you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and do something and meet that person where they're at. The loyalty that was earned that day probably far surpassed any promotions or anything else that I've ever could have received. And so I think that's one way I'd like to answer that question, is just that I wasn't asking for hugs all the time, but that one time it was perfect, and he met me where I was at, and I'll never forget it. It's a great example of good leadership.
Thank you for that story, Troy. You know what, first of all, sorry for your loss. I know that it wasn't somebody that you knew well, but I just, condolences on that, because it's painful. It's painful. And for those listening, suicide is not going away. It's a topic that people shy away from and are not willing to say out loud. So appreciate that you brought that in. I realize in reading the question and hearing your answer, there are also misconceptions that we have about our leaders, right, around empathy and compassion. And the question is, why? Why do we have those misconceptions? What's happening in the workplace where we can't see that one person or another person might be that person for us, right? You had a choice based on your experience. What was it about that other leader that didn't feel like you could go to them the same way? And then they proved to you that you could. How beautiful is that? Right? So that's just another way, something else to explore in the workplace. As a leader, what are you showing people? What do they know about the safety and the trust that's been cultivated? And if you're not sure, maybe ask them. What do you need me to do as one of your leaders to create a space where you feel like you can come to me? Right? So it came to mind as you were sharing. Thank you for that. All right, we're going to go to Rajiv. You ready for us? Let me get you in there. Hold on one second. Let's get you up. Okay, come on in.
Thank you for that. To piggyback off of Troy and Misha, I think that there has been this false definition when it comes to leadership, which is that leaders are expected to have all the answers and to know all the things. And I think that's placed a burden on them that's made it difficult for employees or teams to feel safe and comfortable with them. I also think, specifically around empathy and compassion, when I was going through my coach training, one of the things that we learned early on was that to be an effective coach, we had to understand what it was like to be a client, that the depth to which we were able to look within ourselves in order to find those pieces that we were uncomfortable with that depth became the well from which we were able to ask our questions. Going back to Troy's point about empathy being feeling with someone, I think that's also sort of where leadership and team dynamics sort of shift and take shape, is when teams and leaders are able to say, okay, yes, this is an employee or someone that I'm working with, but also this is someone that is going through a lived human experience. I think back to Dr. Maya Angelou when she was quoting Terence, the playwright, which is that I'm a human being and nothing that is human can be alien to me. And so I think when we're talking about sort of empathy in the workplace, it's the understanding that there is nothing done in a vacuum and isolation. We're all going to have these human experiences, and that empathy allows us to connect with the human component of it so that we can shape and co-construct, there we go, co-build the ways in which we design the systems and structures so that we can show up authentically, so that we can have the support systems in place. Crystal had talked about at the beginning that oftentimes that is sort of where we're able to do the work more easily when we have that support. And I think to reframe it as a strength, it's not necessarily a limitation to be human. I think it just provides a safety net so that we can show up and to minimize some of that stress, because we're able to take a step back and say, oh, I'm not working with a whole bunch of robots and machines or people who expect to have all the answers. I'm working with other humans.
I'm muted. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Thank you for that, Rajiv. Yeah, what a good listener. I loved how you tied back in what Crystal said at the beginning. Thank you for that. Really, yeah, I feel like you did a nice bring back. And usually I haven't done this in the past, but Crystal, is there anything you want to add based on hearing, because you went first? Is there anything you want to add to the conversation because of all this juiciness that just developed between all four of us?
I appreciate the question, but really, I want to give flowers to everybody here, because talk about alignment. The things that you all are saying, I'm like, oh, I've definitely talked about this in other spaces, whether it's me holding the space or being in conversation with other folks. And Rajiv, you specifically talk about being humans, not robots. That really lands for me, because what is that expression? I think that we've all heard it at some point. We are human beings, not human doings, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not meant to constantly be producing and operating. We need rest. We need space. We need to be able to take that pause.
Yeah, absolutely. So those of you just joining us, the question we've been exploring so far is, what misconceptions do leaders often have about empathy and passion in the workplace? And how can we reframe them as strengths? And, just to kind of summarize, is we need them. And so, checking in with your staff, am I creating an environment where you feel like you can talk to me? Noticing that, or acknowledging, really claiming that, these are not soft skills, they're strategic skills. And also that we are human beings, not human doing. So where is the space in the room to be productive, but also to create that workplace environment where people feel comfortable to be their authentic selves in a positively impactful way, not with hate and things like that. So, all right, well, are we ready to go to question number 2? Question number 2 is, I see the nods. How do leaders balance empathy with accountability to ensure both people and results are supported? And I brought this question in because of something I've been talking to a lot of people about when I'm doing my trainings and my speaking and my coaching, whereas empathy it doesn't have to be an excuse. It's a powerful connection tool. The more we listen to understand each other, that is empathy, the more people will stay. 42% of turnover can be avoided. But we have to be willing to balance that empathy and accountability and not mistake one for the other, or vice versa. They're not antonyms, and they're not always synonyms. So, how do leaders balance empathy and accountability to ensure both people and results are supported? Who would like to go first? Okay, Troy, come on in. Let me pull you up here. Actually, I'm going to do it differently now. Let's see. That is not Troy. That is Rajiv. All right. Come on in, Troy.
All right. Thank you. I wanted to go first because sometimes if I don't speak right, when something comes into my mind, I'll forget it. And then I'm like, oh, it was something brilliant and now it's lost. And so thanks to my peers here for letting me go first. I've worked with many organizations, and I've been lucky enough to work with even like the employees themselves, not just the leaders in the organization. And one of the things that frustrates employees almost more than anything else is when they're surprised at the end of the year at their performance review. And maybe we've all been there, right? You get this terrible performance review, or maybe it's just not even terrible. It's just it's not like the perfect rating. It's not what you thought you were at. And so, the guidance that I give those leaders is, if they were doing something wrong, we should have been checking that all along, or we should have been talking to them along the way. And so my message really is that accountability it's actually, a kind thing to do. It's really is empathy at the end of the day, because you're helping make them better and more successful. So I think an active, engaged supervisor or leader is someone who does constant check-ins. And honestly, everything I know about Gen Z is that they love the constant check-ins. They want to know how they're doing. And so they're the ones, no one likes it, by the way. No generation likes going to the performance review at the end of the year and not getting what they thought they were going to getting something worse. But Gen Z loves the constant feedback. They want to make sure that they're on the right path. And so that's what I would suggest to any new leader, any supervisor, any existing leader is, don't just wait for the gotcha at the end of the year so you don't have to give the bonus or the high rating or whatever it is. We want our employees to be successful. And so I think our approach really should be to, have that. I think it's actually, again, compassion, because it's action oriented, and correct them and guide them along the way and not surprise them at the end of the year. Set those clear expectations. That's one of my biggest shticks, I feel like, these last few years is, well, your employees are doing what? Well, do they know that they're not supposed to do that? Is it crystal clear? Hey, Crystal, yeah. Is it crystal clear that what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing? And how are you holding them accountable, or to a standard that they don't know, they're not aware of, right? So that's my go. I'm really interested to hear what everyone else has to say.
Well, you know what's funny? I just came up with this analogy that, okay, it's related and it's not. So just follow me for a moment, okay? Who likes to go to the restaurant and sit at the table and wait for a waiter for half an hour not knowing what's happening? Most times your waiter will come up to you and say, the food is coming up shortly. Just wanted to let you know I'll be back. Right? Just a quick little insert, not like dominating your table conversation, but giving you some input of like, hey, things are coming up. So when an employee has to wait a whole entire year to find out you didn't like what they did or how they did it or what they said or how they said it, why? Why are we holding that back? It just doesn't make sense to me, unless you're trying to find ways to give them a bad evaluation because it's personality issue. In my spiritual community, they talk about principles before personalities. How can you teach people to do what they need to do to be successful and move your ego aside? Okay, sorry. Who's next? I don't need to say sorry. I'm not saying sorry. Crystal, come on in. Let me see how I do this. Let's see. Go there. Oh, wait, everybody disappeared. Okay, there you are. What? Nope. Hold on. Technology. Okay, we got this. Go, Crystal, go.
So building on what both of you two have shared, first of all, Misha, the restaurant analogy is so great, because one of the things that came to mind for me while Troy was speaking is really seeking clarity, right? That whole piece around checking in before the big surprise at the end. I was having lunch with a friend yesterday, and our food, we were at a sushi restaurant. So, the sushi, it just kept coming out, and we were having this conversation. We weren't just devouring our food, and the table was full of plates, and we still had more food coming, and the server comes up and she's like, Would you like us to pause the rest of your servings while you consume what's in front of you? And we're like, yes, absolutely, that would be great. So in the context of workplace stuff, when you notice that maybe there is a bit of a backlog or slowness, or people aren't showing up in the ways that you typically recognize them to show up, checking in too, because to Troy's point, that gives people that permission and that sense of safety and security to be able to also ask for what they need and advocate for themselves, because people they need to feel like they can seek support without shame, without any sort of retribution. And when you're doing those check-ins, asking questions for the sake of clarity and really listening intently to understand and find areas where you could provide more support to help alleviate any sense of overwhelm or misunderstanding. What tools or strategies might be able to support this person and work together on a plan that is more sustainable, so that that person has more actionable steps to follow, rather than feeling like they've got to figure it out all on their own, or they're not good enough to do their job.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I'm looking at time. So rather than commenting after what you just said, which I just loved the food analogy again, there's so much we can learn. Like, the book, Everything I Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Well, everything we know, we learned at a restaurant. So here I'm going to bring in Rajiv. Rajiv, come on in and take us home with this topic.
Thank you so much. To piggyback off of what Crystal and Troy had talked about, I love the idea of compassion being, an action, and I love the idea of communication for clarity. I think sometimes, to tie it back into the topic of values, right? A lot of times, how we identify our values is when our boundaries have been crossed and when we are in environments where we don't feel authentically aligned. And I think oftentimes, especially through my consultancy work or coaching work, helping leaders and teams is really birthed from a place of people feel disengaged because they feel disoriented and disconnected. And so when it comes to, balancing empathy and accountability, I think it's partially boundaries. I think part of it's also values. And I don't mean values as in naming the thing, right? There's a coaching tool that we use, which is about process values. So how do we take the topic of a value and identify what it feels like in order to design what action steps are taken? So for me, community is one of my core values. But it's not just a word community. It's the places beyond the house where people can feel like they're at home and deepen connection and authenticity with others. It's that joy, it's that laughter, it's that feeling of safety, right? If those are the components of community that align with my work, well, what do I need to do in leadership, even as a consultant, whether I'm leading a project or leading it in terms of support, to help create those ecosystems where community can be in practice, where community can have the full scale and scope of definition that aligns with me, while also bringing in other voices and perspectives to help clarify and define it for themselves as well. Excuse me. And I think oftentimes in the work that each of us do, when it comes to leadership, when it comes to support, when it comes to sort of helping and supporting others or amplifying voices, oftentimes it is sort of really helping people see that it's the practice and the actions of allowing people to have the space that they need, to have those clarifications answered, to have their boundaries identified, and not just say, oh, this is sort of where the line is. It is, what is the environment around that line? What is it that's needed to help either strengthen and support it, but also still progress and have movement taking place, so that inevitably we're still meeting our deadlines with the flexibility of still needing to be human, so that we're not completely drenched with 20 projects simultaneously.
Yeah. Well, yes. Thank you. Well said. Well said. All right, this is the time. Thank you, everyone, for an engaging conversation. I loved how aligned everybody was, and I mean, no accident, but it's what I love about doing these talks. I want to make sure that I honor your time and our watchers, listeners, get you out of here on time. I want to just remind everyone to join us again October 6th at 11:45 p.m. Pacific. Another great topic. It's Rest is Radical Success: Redefining Productivity Through Joy and Renewal. And I'm excited to be welcoming OJ Simmons, Marjorie Turner Holman, and Megan Arneson. And while we exit out, I'd like to invite each of you to just share one how people can reach you and what you would be doing for them if they were to reach out to you. And then also a golden nugget that you're taking away from what someone else here shared. So who would like to go first? Rajiv, actually, you haven't gone first yet. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you, Misha. The golden nugget I'm taking away would be Troy's compassion is action. I just love that. It's clear and concise and true. You can find me at cranesrefolded.com. I am a mixer and life coach and consultant. So if I could support you in your teams, please reach out anytime.
Awesome. And if those of you who've been watching and listening don't know, I've been posting a QR code every single time we have one of our panelists speak. So there's a QR code for Rajiv. And you can go back and replay if I moved it too fast. All right, who's next?
I don't mind.
All right, come on in, Troy.
I'll be quick. I've got little gold nuggets from each of you, actually. So Crystal said something about bringing your action, like your emotions and yourself to work, and kind of reminded me of that TV show Severance. Like, there's not two versions of you. There's one you, and you should feel like you belong and can be present and, I don't know, have compassion shown to you at work. Rajiv, leaders don't know everything. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's why we have so much work that we do, because how many times have we just seen like someone promoted and now they're the leader, but they don't really have all the training or maybe enough training to do a great job. And then Misha, principles over personality. I kind of love that little gold nugget that you threw out there. And so thank you so much for having me. Wonderful panel. Misha, you're amazing. Troy Steadman with Cardinal Communications. I'm a certified Strengths Finder and Insights Discovery. Those are leadership assessments. And I really love doing the team building or training environments for your teams, although we do a lot of other things. That's what I love to do the most. So yeah, reach out if you think there's a need.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. And Crystal, come on in.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, Misha, for having me and bringing us all together. This has been a really enriching conversation for a Monday. I think that the nugget that I'm taking away is the story that you shared, Troy, in the beginning. While it came from a heavy place, two things that I pull out of that is A, the reminder of how powerful story can be to reconnect us to our empathy and compassion, and not to make assumptions about people and how they might show up for us. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier and, getting curious, seeking clarity, asking questions. So I really appreciate you with the story piece, because also from a neurodivergent perspective, we connect better to stories too, right? So yeah, I really appreciate that. And I would say for anyone who is curious about what it's like to work with a trauma-informed leadership development coach and bringing your values into your messaging and really every facet of your business and how it operates, that really is my zone of genius, because it's not just, oh, I value community or I value, trust or inclusivity. It's really, okay, well, how do we bring those values through the way that you operate in your business, including stuff like your SOPs? Sounds really boring and dry, but it can be done. So that is my sweet spot. And you can reach me directly. My website is crystallily.co, crystallily.co, or you can email me at youbelong@crystalllily.co.
Fabulous. Well, thank you all. I think I'm going to take away what I came in with from all of you is that you're just amazing people. And I know, superlatives, they're my thing, but the truth is you all add, and I'm so grateful for the value you add to our communities, to our world. It is a critical time right now where more people benefit from leading with heart. And the fact that not only do you three, us four, lead with heart, but we teach other people to do it so that the people can have a healthier, sustainable workplace. So thank you for being part of this with me this time, this week. Those of you who are watching and listening, this is a bi-weekly live, and the next topic, I'll pull that up for you, is going to be, again, redefining productivity through joy and renewal. And so just to close us out, I'm Misha Safran. I am a keynote speaker award-winning author, development trainer, and coach. And I support people cultivate your success through joy and rest and help do peopling better. So really delighted and look forward to folks again on October 6th. And I know I'll have all three of you panelists again. We have dates picked out and I can't wait. And we'll just say goodbye to everybody and we'll sign off.